Hi and welcome to day 9 of our December ConfigMas, a month-long user group party with shiny content every single day. My name is Johan,
I'm Amy.
and today's topic is MDT Light Touch troubleshooting.
MDT Light Touch is my favorite thing. I'm so excited.
That's so cool. So,
So speaking of MDT Light Touch, why would an organization still be using it these days?
you mean you have a config manager, but you might still be able to want to use Light Touch for
That's kind of what I'm getting at, yeah.
So organizations, historically, they have been using it to create reference images, but I see fewer and fewer organizations actually still doing that.
Okay.
There's still a lot of them that does it, and for that, Light Touch is perfect. I also see in some organization using it because they already had it, and they use Light Touch to deploy Windows, install the config manager agent, and then manage it with config manager. But I usually recommend if you have Light Touch in production for OSD and you have config manager to manage those systems, move that piece over. So the only real valid scenario I would say is if you still need to create these thicker type reference images.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you do when things go wrong? Crying as acceptable?
It's worked for me.
At least it makes you feel better a little bit.
At least I'm doing something.
Yes. But bottom line, when you start the deployment, you do a bare metal deployment and something fails early on. And the usual answer is what you need to do depends on when it fails. But what if it fails real early in the process? You pixie boot and you see the boot image comes down and then basically nothing happens. Well, we still have log files. And for MDT, those log files are in the RAM. So on the X drive. So X, mini-NT, SMS, OSD, OSD logs. So this is in the very beginning of the sequence. Now we assume that the sequence actually can format the disk. And as soon as the sequence does that, it's going to continue to log in that location. And that's going to be either C or D or E or S or T or U or V, whatever
Pretty good at the alphabet.
temporary drive letter MDT decided to put there. Because the key is they are temporary. And then the machine is going to reboot, obviously. And after the reboot, these days, everything will be on the C drive. So, and then in the final end, the log files will be moved into Windows temp and deployment logs. So these are obviously client side. We can get them to be server side by modifying a little variable called SL share. So that will be something that you do in your deployment share settings. So you go to your deployment share, and that's not the deployment share. I actually have to be on the right server also.
So why would you want to do this step?
Because imagine I'm deploying in a different location,
Okay.
different city, different country,
Yeah.
and something fails. Trying to convince someone on the phone, can you please press F8 and find the log file for me and then do net use and copy them?
Yeah.
Nope.
And cheers to everyone who has done that.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a tech in the other end, fine. But if it's
Yeah.
an end user, nope. No good idea at all. So here is an example. SL share, outputting the information into a given folder. I work just fine. So at least we can monitor them there. Another thing we can do is enable something called monitoring. And if I click the right deployment share, it's going to be enabled also.
What?
Here we go. Yes. So on this deployment share, I have enabled monitoring. So it's live and kicking. And that means if I take a client, regular Hyper-V client, test, a good name as any. Give it some memory, a network. In this case, I'm going to choose Stockholm because my server is in Stockholm. A bit of hard drive, And I'm just going to configure it to boot from an ISO so I can start the deployment real quick. And those are here. Finish. Start the VM. And off we go. This background has a story, actually. It's quite valid now since the last Star Wars coming up shortly in December 20. And I did a conference for System Center Universe back in the days, and a condition.
Experts Live.
Yeah, exactly. And the requirement for all speakers was to somehow get the Star Wars thing in their presentation, and this was my idea.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Sidebar. So I'm going to pick one of my sequences, my 1903 sequence here, for example. Click Next. Give it a name, test, good as any, and start my deployment. But now, if you look in the left-hand corner here, there is actually a remote desktop window waiting. So now I can go back to my console on my server, refresh the monitoring node, and I see my machine deploying in real time. And I can also just double-click it and then use Dart from MDOP to remote into it. So not only do I have the log files on the server side, I have remoting capabilities, and now I can actually press F8 and get a command prompt and do all the stuff myself. And this has been saving me so much time, especially when doing like BIOS configurations and stuff where you need to have the physical box. A lot of normal deployments you can test in a VM, but drivers and BIOS things, not so much.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Short tips around troubleshooting.
Yeah, this is very shiny. If you like the video, please be sure to comment, and we will definitely check you tomorrow for another video. Very shiny topic. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, guys.